Work Package 6, and as I said, based in Crayon, Italy. Marie's presentation is current knowledge and on approaches to stratification of soil indicators. So over to you, Maria. So you'll have to unmute.
Okay, I do not have the link. Oh, yes, now I have. Thanks a lot. Okay, so do you see the presentation?
Yes, yeah, if you put it on, yeah, perfect.
Okay, so in this presentation, I will speak about our knowledge on the approaches that are available to evaluate soil indicators. I thank for the contribution in this presentation from Claire and also from my colleagues in the Working Package 6 leading team. So in this first slide, I want to present a scheme on our contribution, research contribution to the European Soil Services. We are collaborating, strongly collaborating, either as Working Package 6, but also with the project Siren and Serena already presented. And we interact also with what is currently done by the European Environmental Agency, and also with other research projects that are now financed by the European Soil Mission. For this reason, I want to present as the first slide what was presented by Rainer Baritz last year during our general meeting on soil indicator framework. I want to present this slide because for me it's really important in this slide the connection between soil threat and soil functions, in the sense that this highlights how the two ways of see how is the soil health of state could be seen as a soil threat or functions, but the two sides are really linked. And therefore, in this slide, it's clearly stated that it is essential to have some critical level and thresholds. And so currently in the Working Package 6, we are starting the writing of a deliverable, which is named Guidelines for Accounting and Mapping Agricultural Soil Carbon Fertility and Degradation Changes. We were doing a lot of meetings to define how to deal with this deliverable. And then we have selected a set of soil properties as soil indicators, which we have defined as linked either to fertility and to degradation. And also our criteria for this selection was to have some properties which could be measurable and possibly also affected by management. I will not enter into detail. What we will analyze in this deliverable, and this is an example of each chapter, and so this is the example for the soil organic carbon chapter. But then we will analyze, so as I said, also by the point of view of decline, so and what this threat, how this threat affects soil fertility, and also climate change, because you know that soil organic carbon is linked either to fertility and also to climate change. We will analyze the measurement and monitoring used, and we will also analyze if it is possible to monitor this indicator also by proximal and remote sensing, if there are threshold and target values, and if there is some modeling and the effect of scale. So this same scheme will be adopted for all the properties that we have identified. Then coming to the topic, specific topic of this presentation, we have seen that there are different approaches that can be adopted to evaluate these indicators. So, for example, the European Environmental Agency has produced a deliverable and published a deliverable where several threshold values are indicated for each property. Instead, we know that in the dashboard for European Soil Observatory, for example, for organic carbon, it is proposed a modeling approach. So to get a target value for soil organic carbon, depending on the content in pastures. Then the same European Soil Observatory proposed a way of evaluating based on reference values on the population, statistical population in different soil districts, soil types area. Then we have also thought that another way of analyzing could be relative changes. And then there is also the final possible approach to consider as it is now the application or no application of sustainable soil management practices. So just to report you what was presented by European Environmental Agency, these are some thresholds that has been defined for the different indicators. And specifically for soil organic carbon, this threshold has been divided, as you can see, depending on climatic areas and also depending on soil texture. But what is written in the notes is that these data are based on Germany and neighboring countries. So it needs to be tested by countries. So this threshold needs to be tested. And as I told you, the European Soil Observatory dashboard instead proposed a different approach, which is based on modeling. And so this is the result that we have in Europe. So you can see that the red areas are the areas identified as with the risk of soil organic carbon decline. And I want to show you here that the same European Soil Observatory is instead using threshold for another indicator, which is water erosion. So this definition, the decision on which kind of approach to use, it is not fixed. The same European Soil Observatory is using for some indicator modeling approach, for some other is using a threshold. And then they are also proposing this other approach, as I told you, so defining some statistical population in the different districts. So also the concept of districts is something that has been launched recently during the second stakeholder forum. And then based on this and on the population in each district, should be defined some target values, reference value for the population, where to define if there is a risk or not. So I have done an application of this method based on national data that we have for Northern Italy. And in the left side, you can see I have applied for soil organic carbon, the threshold proposed by European Environmental Agency. And then in the right side, I have applied a reference, an approach based on reference values based on the population of soil types, or again, for soil organic carbon. And you can see that the result is really, really different. I can interpret the right side, so the application of reference values in this way, that in this moment, the population probably that we have available in our data sets do not represent what is the potential for these soils. So for this reason, the risk is lower. In any case, the message is that any kind of approaches we want to adopt, I think that the countries should test what happened. And so we have also done an exercise inside, between the researcher of EJP SOIL to find which are, by our point of view, the pros and cons of using different kind of approaches. And so you can see that every kind of approaches can have some pros or cons. For example, if you base on threshold, it may be something simpler, but you need to do a lot of work to define these thresholds. The same for the distribution. So for reference value, you need a lot of work to define these reference values in different populations. And for modeling approach, the problem there is that there are few natural lands available in Europe. So it may be difficult to define these top values, but maybe other kind of modeling could be adopted. So what we think is that it is needed some work to test the application of different approaches with national data and to find which can be the best solution. And maybe there can be not one solution for every indicator. We were also proposing to use a relative change approach, especially for field scale. Maybe this will not be so feasible at an aggregation level to use a relative change approach because this needs temporal analysis. But yes, we propose this for the field scale. And then finally, I will go very fast for the few less slides. I want to present you that in EJP SOIL Working Package 6, we are doing a lot of work also to analyze what happens if you use national monitoring system data or local data set at European level. And you can see here an example in Germany where you can see very different results. And so as was presented by David, our aim is to come to an integration of these data sets, the national and the European level data set, so to avoid the problem of having maybe not representative data for Europe with only Lucas, but then also the problem of not having a harmonized maps at European level if you adopt only national data. And then I will go very fast on this. There are problems of different analytical methods adopted in countries in the monitoring systems. There are problems of different approaches also in this monitoring system for the when you go in the field and sample. And then now it is ongoing a very important activity on Lucas double sampling, where we wish we are going to produce by the end of this project, hopefully, if we will have all the data available in time, transfer function for the analytical methods. And we have also done, or it's currently ongoing, on a statistical comparison of what it is the current situation using national or European data sets. And then finally, this is the last slide. We want also to test a different way of mapping using different data sets, different also auxiliary variables, with aim to find the best way of mapping using all the data sets available at national European level, but with a country-driven approach, hopefully, so that the countries are most they will most probably we will probably use more data than if we are only using a top-down approach. And that's all by my side.
Thank you, Maria. So I'd invite people to